All right, just a real quick video on Chapter 2, Section 2 on continuous, when you have continuous data, how to find the frequency. So remember, we have to find the interval of the bins, like they go from what number to what number, so how much is between each value. And in order to create the correct number of bins, so that we don't have too much data as you read through Chapter 2, you can kind of get a sense of this, but so you don't have too much data on your histogram or too little data, so that when you view it, it's a good representation of that data. We use this formula 2 raised to the k power is greater than or equal to n. And so we want to find out what the value of k is. And we know what the value of n is. That's just the number of data values. So remember, you can select one cell and then hit Control-Shift down, and it'll select the last cell. And then down here in the bottom, you'll see what the count is. So we know the count is 50. There's 50 data values in this data set. So that's what the n is. So n is 50 in this example. Okay. So 2 raised to what power is greater than or equal to 50? So you just have to go through that. 2 raised to the 2 power, 3 power, 4 power, 5 power. And then when you find out, 2 raised to the 6th power is 64. 2 raised to the 5th power is 32. So we're going to go with 6. Now to continue this, we need the min and the max value in our data set. So we can just use formulas. So I'm going to say the formula is equal to min of column A, that's our data set. And then the max is the max of column A. And again, I'm just clicking on this column. You could also do A2 to A51. You'll get the same value. It doesn't matter. Okay, I just think it's easier just to click on that. To click on that column, because I'm lazy and I like to do things as quickly as possible. All right, so now to find what the distance between each bin will be. So it goes from what value to what value. What's the difference between those two values? We're going to use that formula where you take the max value and you subtract the min value, and then you divide it by your k value. So that formula again is in your book. You don't have to just know that off the top of your head, right? So in order to do that, I'm just going to do a formula where I take the max value, that's that one, and subtract the min value. If I did it the other way, I'd just get a negative number. You can ignore that if you want, if you don't remember to take the max from the min. And then I'm going to divide it by the k value, which is 6. So I'm just going to type 6 in because I didn't put that in a cell. So I have 2.799999111, whatever. I am going to round that up just for the purposes of this because it's easier. I'm going to round it up to 3. Okay. Now I want to know my frequencies. So I'm going to, each bin is going to have a difference of 3, right? Because that's that value. If you did 2.8, that's fine. It's just going to make it a little bit more difficult. So I'm going to do 3. And in order to find the frequencies, now I have to do a pivot table. So I'm going to select this column. I'm going to go to Insert, Pivot Table. And I want to just put it in my existing worksheet in a place where there's no data. So I'm just going to select a blank cell. And then over here, now we can decide what we're going to put in our pivot table. So I'm going to drag the minutes down to rows and the minutes down to values. But instead of count, I'm going to just click on it and change the value field settings. Oh, I did want count, I'm sorry. To count. It might be sum. Change it to count. Okay, so now I don't have what I want still. So I have to group my data. So I'm going to select one of the cells over here in row. Just make sure you've got, I think it's just the cell. Yeah, you have to just select one of the cells in row. Otherwise this won't pop up, this group field. And remember that we grouped our field starting at 0 just to make it easier. And we're going to go to 18 because we're going to group them by 3. And 18's a multiple of 3. So it kind of makes sense to stop there. Now, some of you had this problem in class, which I didn't come up with before, and I think it's because when I did my pivot table in class, I just selected the cells. And then when I did my pivot table just now, I selected the column. So let's see if that's true. So if I just select the data values, and remember, always select the header, otherwise you won't get it. So if I insert a pivot table with just those values, let's see what happens. Now I need to change this to count. And again, I'm going to select a cell in the row labels. Row. I'm going to start at 0, go to 18, and count by 3. And now I don't get that blank. So that's the difference that was happening. I selected just the entire row this time to create the pivot table, and over here I just selected those exact values. So one thing you can do is I guess you can just ignore it. It's not really a big deal. You'll get the same values for the frequency. So this count is the frequency. That it's from 0 to 3. That's the count, right? Now here's the thing. Remember we said in class, well, what happens if a person had exactly 3, I think these are minutes, yeah, exactly 3 minutes call time. So where would they go? Would they go here or would they go here? Well, remember this is 0 to almost 3. So it's not 3, it's anything under 3. 0 to less than 3.
I'm about to start the Nature's Bounty Hair, Skin, and Nails Challenge.
The heck? I don't know what that was. So I have my web thing open, but I don't know what that was. Weird. Okay, so where was I? Now I'm all discombobulated. Now I want to do the histogram, right? So I'm going to I have to create my row labels separate than the pivot table. This was the extra step you had to do. So I'm going to say almost 3. And you can look through your data to see, well, how specific do you need to get? And I can see that in my data, the highest value to almost 3 is 2.8. So 2.9 would work, 3.9 would work, 4.9, etc. So I'm going to use those values. Oops, I'm sorry, I didn't mean 3.9, 5.9, because we have to be almost 6. And then this one would be 8.9, 11.9, because I want almost 12, 14.9, and then last is 17.9. And then I'm going to create a histogram with this, and I don't have that add-in here, so I'm going to add it. So I go to, again, the File tab. Go to Options.
Sundown Naturals Kids Vitamins are 100.
Must be this. Yeah. I had an extra tab open. I have no idea what that was. All right, and add-ins. So go to Options and Add-ins, and then go down here. It says Manage Excel Add-ins. Click on Go, and then make sure you have Analysis Tool Pack, which I do. So why isn't it in here? Oh, there it is. Okay, good. So now I'm going to go to Data Analysis in the Data tab. I'm going to select Histogram. And my input is my column A in this case. And my bin range will be these values, except I need to select the cell above. That way it tells me that there's like some sort of header, which I didn't put here, but that's okay. Click Labels, and then the new worksheet ply will put a new worksheet in there. You can put it somewhere inside of your worksheet if you want to do output range, or you can create a whole new workbook by clicking this one. Don't forget, if you want to see the chart, which we do, we're going to click there. And if you click output range for your output options, just click where you want that to be, and we'll just put it over here. So wherever there's blank room on your chart or worksheet. All right. So notice that I didn't type anything in this cell. I can now. I'm going to type minutes or hold time if you want, whatever. Oh, and let's copy that over here. Oh, it doesn't show up now. That's okay. I'm going to get rid of this thing. I don't want it, so I'm just going to select it and delete it. And then this is where you can start making it actually look like a continuous histogram, which means that these things need to touch. So I'm going to right-click on it, Format Data Series. And then I'm going to change the gap width to 0. And then if I click here, I'm going to change the custom angle. I think they just said -45 in here. And then you can say 0 to less than 3, and so on and so forth. And if you can't see that, you can just kind of expand your histogram like so. Ta-da! Excuse me, I have a little itch in my throat. It's not good. So if you want, I'll just put in the rest of these. So it's 3 to less than 6, 6 to less than 9, 9 to less than 12, and then 12 to less than 15, and then 15 to less than 18. So now we know if the person had a call time of 3 minutes, it wouldn't go in this first one, it would go in this second one. Okay, it would be counted here. So it won't be double counted because we don't want that. That would be bad data. But we only want it counted once. Okay. Also, we have this more field that pops up. We don't want that in our chart. So when you find your chart, or create your histogram, excuse me, click somewhere in here where those blue bars are, and you'll notice this box around this pops up, and in that instant you can now select what you want to be in your graph. Okay, so we don't want that more, so I'm just going to find that thing and just select the data points that I want to appear in my graph. And that's it. Again, you can continue to shape and resize, and some of you were going ahead and even changing the color of these. So you can do all sorts of fun stuff within there with that. Okay. So that's it. I hope that helps. I know some of this wasn't in the book, especially the pivot table stuff. And then there's that extra step of doing this part.